Happy Friday, Trance family. Chris Blackburn, aka Trance Jesus here. We are in my hometown of Minneapolis. Yes, the Timberwolves are playing their second round game. It's the second time ever that they made the second round of the playoffs. And so it just happened to be great timing that we had a special guest in town, actually two. We'll talk to the other one at our next interview. But one is a fellow HQ bookings artist. He has released a number of tracks on multiple labels from Future Sound of Egypt, our favorite, Regenerate, and much more. And we'll ask him about some of the other tracks that he has in the works. And coming from sunny Phoenix, let's say hello to Niko Zografos.
How's it going, bro?
It took me a while to get that right, the Zografos part, but
You nailed it.
I nailed it. I finally nailed it. It took me a while, but I've got it down pat. So, great heading to Minneapolis. It's a perfect weekend to actually come.
Yeah.
Weather is great. Lots of activity downtown. It's not January. It's not cold.
Yeah.
And especially coming from Phoenix, that would have been quite a shock.
It's a little break from the 90-degree weather, which is nice.
Yeah, and it's especially like you're probably right on the cusp of like that real hot 4, 5, 6 months of just 100-degree weather.
Yeah, probably. I think like June is when we'll get that 6 digits, and I mean 90's great. Like I like it, it's dry heat kind of thing. But yeah, especially July and August, that's gonna be brutal. But
Yeah,
good excuse to travel.
Seeing on the news where people are like cracking their eggs on the asphalt and it automatically fries up, and then like people's tires melting to the asphalt as well. And then I think there was one point last year I saw it was like 140 or 150 out there in like the Death Valley area.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it was great. It should be interesting to see what this summer has at a whole, especially here in Minnesota, having a short winter.
Oh my, you're saying this.
So how's the change been coming from the Bay Area to Phoenix and kind of that adjustment, since you're pretty new to the Phoenix area?
It's fun. I mean, I've, grown up in the Bay Area, lived my whole life there, different areas, mostly like the peninsula and the South Bay. But I mean, the weather obviously is warmer. The scene, as far as trance goes, I feel like was more regular prior to COVID and is only now starting to pick back up. But I still feel like it's missing a lot of names that you usually would see in a city that has an established trance scene. So I'm taking it on like a personal challenge to see how I can help the scene out there. Because I'm not sure if there's really anything else I could do in San Francisco other than stay active, a couple times a year. It's always been a strong, one of the strongest cities of the U.S. for trance. And, with living in Arizona, I'm actually a little bit closer to San Diego. So, I'm looking forward to getting out there more. It is not far from LA. So it's from arm's reach distance, so to speak. So I can still have my hand out, in my home state, but also take on a new challenge.
I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, especially being so close to San Diego, the Transition crew, another Niko, and Eric. They're doing some great things out there. And you're actually closer to San Diego and Phoenix than I am to Chicago. Chicago is like 7 hours or so.
Okay, interesting.
And they're also another market that has really, I'd say probably within the last 6-9 months or so, have started to ramp back up to where they were pre-COVID, because they were also another big need.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Everyone would go to Chicago. We would regularly do turn and burns and go to Chicago.
Yeah.
Where we'd book a flight at 7 at night and be back by like 10 the next morning and go see Barry Marcus and a whole bunch of other artists. And pre-COVID flights were a lot cheaper too. So
yeah.
You don't have that luxury right now, unfortunately.
That is the truth.
But awesome. So taking on a new market, I know I've got that experience here in Minneapolis and trying to do what we can as stewards of trance. Outside of being that steward of trance, you played a show in Phoenix here recently. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's Sun Bar in Tempe with Relentless Beats. It went really well. I had a little Phoenix Trance family meetup up beforehand. and people were there. They were vibing. It was great. A lot of people talked to me after my set, and it was just fun playing a new venue, a new city, a new home city, really. And I should be back in there in the coming months, definitely. The promoter, Relentless Beats, was really happy with it. So ideally, I would like to do 3 to 4 quality shows there a year where I play. That way it's not too much, keep it special. Obviously, I hope for more trance than 3 or 4 shows a year. But when I play, that's what I'd like to shoot for.
Yeah, that's always a challenge to kind of, as that scene and then market starts to build up. I know we have experience, especially in the San Frans and the LAs, where you can go and sometimes have 2 shows a night.
Yeah.
I've seen some nights where I've been in LA and there's been 3 trance shows a night, and I'm like, it must be nice to have, there's a pretty big city as the road, and but to be able to have that community and build it, and so it's just something that takes time. So
yeah, exactly. And you don't want to oversaturate it. You want to, if people can. I learned from my early days as a resident DJ at Ruby Sky. When I was first playing there, you could see me, multiple times a month. But yeah, when you become an established producer, and people get to know you more and more, if you play too much, if they can see you this weekend, why are they gonna come and see you the following weekend, or vice versa? You kind of lose your it becomes oversaturated, and it kind of lose that special feeling of oh wow, I haven't seen this DJ in 6 months or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a fine balance. And people ask, oh, how come you don't play more often? Well, a lot of times that's it. Well, it's a lot of artists don't play a city more than once or twice a year if it's not their home city. So it's just a matter of, like I said, finding that balance and, being strategic.
Absolutely. And I would say, like yourself, you have that uniqueness where you actually go beyond just your traditional trance as well with your different sounds, and I'll get to that in a minute. But let's rewind the clock back to the very beginning of your love of trance. And as a question I always love to ask artists, because I'm a big fan of origin stories, and so this is where I get to uncover some of that part of origin stories with artists. What was that first song that made you fall in love with trance? And can you tell us when that was?
Yeah, I remember it. I remember it really well. So just to kind of give some backstory to that, my first rave was Pop 2007 with Skills. Was a big promoter of the Bay Area for many years. I saw Infected Mushroom, Christopher Lawrence. There's a whole bunch of people on that. I forget. But I wasn't really into electronic music at all. I was into rock. But my friend said, I'm taking you, you're coming. Infected Mushroom obviously has electric guitar, and I thought it was amazing. Got me into the side trance realm. But then 3 months later, I'm like, I'm going again. Saw Ferry Corsten, Sasha. Ferry Corsten dropped On Fire. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then a year after that, after going to raves at EDC and things like that, I saw Paul Van Dyke. But it was Love Fest 2008 in San Francisco, the after party where I saw it was Caillou and Albert, then ATB, school ATB.
Great lineup.
And everyone played at least an hour and a half to 2 hours on an 8,000, 9,000 person crowd. So it was Bum Beyond playing Tri-State. And it was Armin when Imagine came out.
Yeah.
And he played 2 hours. And it was when that venue went until 4. So Armin played from 2 to 4. I was dead tired at 2 because if you know Love Fest, it's through the day too. So you're already out for 12 hours at that point. But instead, I stood up. I danced the whole time because it was just so amazing. I danced probably until 6 or 7. The party ended at 4. And then that Monday or Tuesday, I went to Guitar Center and bought decks because I'm like, this is what I want to do.
That's awesome. So your story started with a large event, a festival event, hearing some iconic names, Ferry and Armin and Caillou and Albert, and Infected Mushroom, what a lineup. And then diving into DJing in 2008, what was the equipment that you purchased? Like,
It was Techniques.
okay,
It was vinyl. Yeah, it was vinyl, but then I realized that not as many people were doing vinyl, so I added some CDJs to what I had. I think I had like a DJM 400 at first.
oh wow,
But I mean, yeah, that like, what is it, like 3 months after that, went to my first club show at 1015 Folsom, like Bronski Speed, the Simon Patterson US debut, Ali Fila's US debut. That's actually where I met Fadi. Yeah, both I had longer hair, like your.
no way.
Yeah, I'll show you a picture.
I think I would definitely see that. We'll add that to the interview later.
Fadi had hair too. Like it was just like,
I've seen pictures of Fadi out there.
yeah. So it was, but yeah, it was just a snowball effect after that.
A vinyl, first vinyl.
I'm honestly not sure. I want to say Armin van Buren Serenity.
Sure.
That's what I think it was. If not, that was one of the first.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. So 2008, bought tech, spot vinyl, fast forward. When did you start getting into production and making music?
Probably after EDC 2010, maybe.
I started in LA at that point.
Yeah, that was like the last one that was in LA, but I wasn't really seriously as into it as I was. It was more just kind of like dabbling. It wasn't any good. Obviously, you're not when you first started. But then I would say I really started wanting to pick things up after EDC 2012, when they had like 2 days of ASOT and the AB GT stage.
Yep.
And that was just like, it's just those kind of events, whether it's an extended, set at a club or a festival. Usually live events is what inspires me. So usually I feel like I'll go to something or I'll play something and I'm like, all right, this kicks me into the next year.
It just kind of like recharges those creative juices.
Yeah, exactly.
Just being around so many people, being around so many artists, hearing so much music. I've actually heard that from a lot of artists, and that's awesome. That and I think that's just that being in the moment and just being able to experience how that experience is something that gives you a lot of reflection of where you want to go musically from a production perspective. So tell us about that first track that you released and kind of that journey.
I mean, yeah, it's just kind of like trying to figure out what works at that point, and you kind of think when you're producing, you kind of overthink when you're first learning. You tend to probably complicate. At least I did. I complicated things way more than they needed to be. And the first track was a collab with my friend Jason Rain. After that, I did a remix of Bronski Speed on Euphonic. And then after that was my collab with my buddy Justin Mitka, and that was track Phoria that was on FSOE, and that's really kind of what catapulted me to making more music and getting a lot of support, and it's just it's been fun for sure. And the better you get, you realize the smaller details matter. So ideally, the more you produce, the better you get at those like smaller details, I think.
So you're able to kind of go from crawling to running a little bit quicker when you realize that it's more about just getting that idea out versus kind of making sure that it's perfect.
Yeah, you gotta start at the ideas, and then once you can get, then you can perfect them pretty much. I mean, that's, I've learned a lot from the next person you're going to interview, Sean Tyas. I mean, he's actually told me that, like, just sometimes just get it down. You can get the mix done in your studio, but I mean, like, just get the ideas out there and just just stay inspired. Find sounds that and create sounds, I should say, that inspire you, and it's okay to be inspired from somebody, but don't necessarily copy them.
Sure,
you got to be you. But like if I'm sitting, like for example, Dreamstate SoCal, I remember sitting in the crowd or standing in the crowd for Ferry Course's set, listening to like some of the transitions. In his tracks, not like him mixing. I'm just like, okay, I want to try something like that. Not exactly, but you hear what he does, and you want to try it yourself. And a lot of times, if you try to do what somebody else does, it's not going to come out the same. So, you know, it's take it with a grain of salt. Just you know, at the same time, like, yeah, if you're listening to the same thing always, you're gonna always sound like that. So you got to listen to different things. So
Absolutely. You pick little pieces of it from a mechanic perspective, not necessarily from a creative perspective, because that's where you want to fill in that gap. You want to fill in your experience and your creativity to really build that track the way that makes it uniquely you.
yeah, exactly.
So let's fast forward, and I'm going to ask Sean this question too, but I want to ask you as well, because you are also involved with this. So one of my all-time favorite trance tracks is Sean Tyas' Drop. And lo and behold, a few years back, I think it was 2019 maybe, I think it was 2019, that he came to Minneapolis and he teased the first drop.
Oh yeah.
And that was the only part of the track that was actually finished at that point in time. And, you know, lo and behold, when it finally came out, it was announced that it was a collaboration between the two of you.
Yeah.
How did that track come to life?
Well, originally, originally it was just me trying to remix Drop,
Sure.
because everyone wants to remix Lift.
Yes.
So I wanted to remix Drop just because no one, I don't think there was a remix.
So,
And I was like sending it to him, and he's just like, hey, pretty much in his own words, like, are you down for me to like roll up my sleeves and we make this loud?
love that.
And I'm just like, yeah, of course. Like, you know what I mean? It's like Sean Tyas, like somebody I've like looked up to like for years. Yeah, pretty much from there, I actually like learned a lot from him in the process as well, because he's a wizard. So yeah, it was, you know, I think it's actually better for me, because instead of it was a remix, it was a collab. And I got to learn from him in the process. So
That's amazing. And yeah, he's definitely a machine and a master in his own regard. And, you know, you've released quite a few tracks as well, I think, on Regenerate as well. You released some others on a number of other labels as well, and then got some others coming up here in 2024 for releases as well. Can you tell us a little bit about any of them that you can share?
yeah, so you know, we got the one coming out on HQ, so it's a HQ debut, so really excited for that. It's a tribute to the new area I moved in, calling it Valley of the Sun, named after the Phoenix area. You know, another one on Ava. That one's actually inspired from a city that I lived by in the Bay Area, called Pacifica. It's a gorgeous city. Yeah, that one's really special to me. I love being by the water. I love the coast. As you've probably heard from other of my tracks inspired by that with names. But this one's a little closer to home. Another really, really big vocal track. I'm not going to say it just yet, but I will tell you it is on FSOE. It's going to be the biggest track I've ever done with the biggest vocalist I've ever worked with. So,
Nice.
That's going to come out probably after that, I'm assuming. But the releases are going to start rolling in the end of July, early August. So
That's amazing. And listening to that Niko Zografos sound, you have to listen to the other side of the Niko Zografos sound as well in your NZ project. Mm-hmm. Any official releases coming out for that one?
not yet, but I've been working a lot on that. I'm pretty much finalizing my trance release schedule and been dabbling with that quite a bit. But I'm definitely, you'll definitely see that for sure. Hopefully this year. But it just depends, how long it takes to release things when you submit it and things like that. But I mean, I love the deeper melodic sounds. I played a show at Public Works in SF, and then Academy in LA, was playing like proper trance. And then that Sunday I just hung out at Hermosa Beach in SoCal and was listening to like Guy J and Judah Deep all day. And I always love that sound, just like deeper, hypnotic, groovy, but still melodic and lush. And I was like, dang, I gotta do this. And that was like the first, it was like the first events like after COVID.
Yep.
So it was just like, everyone was super inspired to be back, but that was just like, all right, I got to do this. So it's been a couple of years in the making for sure. I was kind of getting down on myself, like, all right, this is taking a while. But then I talked to Fadi about his Das Pharaoh alias. It took him like 2-3 years to get that going. So these things take time, but you have heard tidbits in my live sets, just haven't been ready. But yeah, they're definitely coming. So it's I'm passionate about both, love both.
And one of my favorite NZ sets was the Dreamstate, or the pre-party, right? Yeah. It was technically not a pre-party to the event, but the pre-party to day 2.
It's like an after party.
It was I don't consider that an after party or after hours. Really, it was right at that cusp of being before the second day of programming was happening there at the Queen Mary.
So earliest set I've ever played was like 9 a.m. That was crazy.
And I was in the room. I was sitting there on the floor with a couple of friends, just enjoying it. I was like, that's a perfect way to kind of keep the day rolling.
Yeah, it was a good way to start the day for sure. Absolutely.
Any closing, comments, Niko? Like, I guess I'll ask you this question from the perspective of your history in trance, your history as a DJ, as a producer. What advice would you give for the new kids on the block, the kids that are, in this digital age, that are looking for instant success? That, from your experience, where does success really lie, and what advice would you give them?
Advice I got early on was, one, you're going to have a lot of ups and downs, so many, and you have to keep working hard, no matter if things are not going right for you. And if people are looking, people are going to pay attention when things are going right. It's easy to work hard when things are going right. When things are not going right, you're not catching momentum, you have to work even harder. That's and not just like, don't just look at it as a grind. Have fun. Like, if you're not having fun, believe me, people can hear it in your music. Like, you have to be yourself. And yeah, have fun. Don't overcomplicate things. Always, ask questions. It's a marathon. There is no instant success. It may seem like that when someone blows up, but when that person blows up, I guarantee you, they've been working at what they've been doing for a long time. They've been putting in hours. The saying is 10,000 hours to be professional at something. I mean, it's, you have how many hours in a week, how many hours of that week are you going to put into music? So, and don't be afraid to know when you need to step away to recharge too. Don't get burnt out. Don't drain yourself, but, have fun, experiment with sounds, try to be unique. Don't just be like, oh, I want to be like this artist. Be like you. You know what I mean? Everyone says, I want to be like Armin. I want to be like Phoria or whoever. You know what I mean? You want to be you. It's the same with professional athletes. People say they want to be like MJ or whatever the case may be. Like, you don't want to be MJ. You want to be you. That's the thing. So have fun. It's hard. It's very hard. But it's one of, if not the most rewarding things I've ever done in my life. So just keep that in mind when you're down, because there are a lot of frustrating days. You're going to make tracks that don't go anywhere, and that's fine, because once you hit that one, that's all it's going to take. So
recharges your battery when you hit that little bit of success, but
you're always one track away from the best track that you made.
I love that quote. Yeah, I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you, Niko, for your time. Definitely excited to have you here in Minneapolis to get some great advice in just being in this industry. And with that, let's go on some fun.
Oh yeah, let's do it, man.
Love you, bro. Thank you.